Are you a fan of those arcade-style beat-em-up games? Well, I think you might like Anastyr. Hey friends, it's Matt with Bowls, and today we are taking a look at the side-scrolling beat-em-up inspired board game Anastyr. Anastyr is a cooperative board game which draws heavy inspiration from those old arcade-style beat-em-up games. Think Streets of Rage, or the Simpsons arcade game, or I guess a more thematic fit would be Chronicles of Mystara. We've already done an unboxing video which goes over the setting and the world of the game and highlights some of these incredibly detailed minis. So if you're interested in checking that out, links for that everywhere you'd expect them to be. Also important to note, this is not a final production copy of the game, so there might be some minor tweaks here and there. Anastyr is a mission-based game, so the goal of the game depends on which mission is being played. Each mission card will note the quest's setup and objectives and things like that. Once the main objective on the card is complete, the players flip the card over and do whatever it says. Once they reach objective complete, they've won. The game is designed that you can play as a full overarching campaign from one quest to the next, or just jump in for a one-shot adventure. But overall, the players each control one character. The character boards themselves show off a lot of the game's core mechanics. Each of the characters are very unique in their tactics and strategy, thanks to their unique stats, ability, and unique deck of technique cards. Each character has a class listed under their portrait and name, which gives some guidelines on how that character will play. Warriors have high combat strength and a lot of combat cards. Tanks are tough with high defense. Shaman have high art stat, which lets them control magic and commune with the wilds of the world of Alberon. And rogues are good combatants, but also have some good defensive abilities. They're just well-rounded characters. I mentioned before that Anastyr is inspired by side-scrolling beat-em-up games. This inspiration is made all the more obvious when looking at how the game board works. The adventure tile boards will be cycled through over the course of an adventure. The boards are aligned side by side, with players working their way from west to east. Once all combatants have moved off of the western board, it is cycled out and becomes the new eastern board. So it's literally a side-scrolling game. During each round of play, the initiative track will determine turn order. Each character has an activation card, which is laid out along the initiative track, with activation cards for the enemies and one for the environment itself, which adds a little chaos into the mix. And speaking of chaos, throughout the game, some effects will cause chaos, capital C. When this happens, the initiative order will be fully shuffled on the next turn. However, some game effects will also allow one character to become the leader. The leader may discard their leader status in order to swap any two activation cards. This could be a pivotal tactic in making sure that you get to go before the enemies get a chance to strike. During a hero's turn, they will be able to take a number of actions depending on the player count, and there are a number of actions to choose from. Each action can only be performed once per turn unless otherwise stated. The maneuver action lets a hero move and attack, in any order. Moving is pretty straightforward. Each hero has a move stat and they can move that many spaces on the board, but only diagonally once each movement. Attacking has considerations like line of sight and range, but in general, when making an attack, the hero rolls a number of attack die based on which stat they are using to make that attack, and then adds up the number of hit markers. For each set of hits that match the target's defensive stat, they lose 1 hit point. So 7 hit markers against defense 3 would be a 2 hit point loss, with 1 hit marker being effectively discarded. Combat attacks are blocked by the defense stat, and art attacks are blocked by the art value. So keep that in mind when choosing your targets. The next basic action is Perform Technique. Each hero has a set of 11 technique cards. Some of these are basic cards, which are common to all heroes, but the rest are unique to that hero and better suit their skills and abilities. Anytime a player uses a technique card, they do what it says on the card, but also they gain Fury points, which we'll get to in just a bit. Also, after playing a technique card, the player can tuck that card under their player board into one of these slots here. Which brings us to one of the major core mechanics of Anastyr, which is combos. On each player board, they will have a number of combos that they can perform. These combos can only be used if the correct sequence of technique cards have been prepared, which charges the combo, making it ready to use. These combo moves are way more powerful than simple basic actions, and knowing when to use them and planning ahead to make sure that they are ready when you need them is a core strategy of Anastyr. And of course, like everything else unique about these characters, everyone has their own unique set of combos as well. Similar to combos are fury attacks. Each time a hero uses a technique or combo, and a few other game effects, they will gain fury points. Once a hero's fury track is full, they will be able to unleash their ultimate fury attack. Similar to combos, fury attacks are way more powerful, and are basically your screen-clearing bomb attacks. After a fury attack is used, the fury track resets to 0 to charge up again. And as before, each hero has their own unique fury attack. There are other actions as well, such as heal and focus, interact, use item, and throw enemy, because yes, you can do that, and things like reactions. But the last action we're going to go over in some depth about is taming and mounting creatures. As the heroes side-scroll their way through the baddies, they will also happen upon some of the wild creatures of Alberon. A player can attempt to roll against these creatures' savagery in order to tame that creature, suffering the listed effects on a failure. Or they can discard a technique card of a matching type in order to tame that creature. And some of the special Sylphate creatures will also provide a passive aura bonus to the players when they are tamed. So going out of your way to tame a creature can definitely be worth it. And once a beast is tamed, the player must maintain control of that creature each round, same as before. But while they have that creature under their control, they can be ridden as a mount. The player takes their on-foot mini and replaces it with the mounted version, and thanks to the magnetic minis, they'll snap right together. Although I think more likely is progress grinding to a halt while everyone races to be the first to tame the wyvern when it shows up. We won't be getting into the nitty-gritty of how they work, but I must of course mention bosses. A good side-scroller has bosses, and Anastyr is no exception. These gigantic monsters are almost an entire minigame in and of themselves. Each boss has their own boss card, which outlines their mechanics and abilities. But also, of course, they have their own miniature, although it stretches the meaning of the word. There are other rules you'll need to know before jumping into a full game. Things like injury cards, which clog up your hand, and what happens when your hero gets knocked out, and how enemy movement and attack work, and a few things like that. But hopefully, this was enough to get you interested in checking out Anastyr. If you want to learn a little bit more about the history of the world of Anastyr and get a closer look up at some of these great minis, check out our unboxing video here. Again, I am Matt with Bowls. Thanks for watching. Bye.